What's up, guys? This is Dan Good, and today I'm going to explain to you why Resident Evil 2's remake is so overrated. But before we get to that, please check out some of my other videos, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So I have some other videos here I think you guys will like. I'm going to put them up on the screen now. So let's get into this. So let's start with some things about Resident Evil 2's remake I believe are objectively worse. The zombies in Resident Evil 2's remake are massive bullet sponges, taking 3 to 6 headshots just to kill a single one. And in the game with very limited ammo and resources, it can be extremely frustrating to be burning through all my ammo and resources when I'm getting headshots on these zombies. Plus, they added substantially more zombies to the game, which only adds to the frustration as you continue to burn through resources like ammo and health because there's so many zombies absolutely everywhere in this game. And unfortunately, when the game is so frustrating, you're not really scared, you're just frustrated. And honestly, I often found RE2's remake to be far more frustrating than actually scary. The developers of Resident Evil 2's remake said they had made these changes because they wanted to keep the zombies intimidating, even though the player had increased mobility, like the ability to aim freely and move and shoot. And at the time, I thought it would be a good medium. But unfortunately, it feels to me the game became kind of frustrating instead of actually intimidating. Now, I don't just want to bash these guys. Here's some of the ways I believe they could have done the same thing while much more adhering to the spirit of Resident Evil. Because bullet sponge enemies are just boring. Here are some ways I believe would have been better to keep the spirit of the original Resident Evil without the frustration and boredom of bullet sponge enemies. Like, for example, what if the zombies move really fast, like in War Z or 30 Days of Night, or could climb walls, attacking from upper angles or different spots, but you would never quite know where a zombie could be? Imagine how much increased of intimidation and fear factor in the game if there were less zombies that were a little weaker, but you could never really know where they might attack from. They could be on the ceiling, they could be hiding behind something that could come from any angle. Think Dead Space, more than a Destiny boss that requires your whole team to pound it for 15 minutes. Instead, how about more Dead Space-like enemies that move fast, that scream, that intimidate? Or what if their heads swayed around a lot? What if they were very hard to get headshots on? Or what if they even moved their head when you aim your laser sight at them, forcing you to shoot in seconds after aiming at them, rather than you just being able to pop them in the head over and over again, and I feel like I'm throwing freaking rocks at them? Or what if my aim swayed a lot, like in Resident Evil 4, when you look down your sights, the aim swayed so much, it was difficult to get precise shots like headshots, especially with the pressure of zombies pushing down on you. Wouldn't this create a more intimidating atmosphere with less bullet spongy enemies that make me feel like I'm trying to chop down a fucking tree? I mean, I personally believe that would be much more intimidating, especially if you use a combination of all three of these things. Manic zombies, say you have some manic zombies who are just kind of like jittery. Every time you aim at them, you can't quite keep the aim on them because their head's dodging back and forth. Say you have some zombies who climb roofs and jump down from the roof, or jump out from spots and rush at you like in Dead Space. And also say you have some aim sway on top of that. These three things would have made for a much more intimidating experience than bullet sponge enemies, because it makes it feel like I would actually cause more damage by hurling insults at the zombies than I do with my bullets in this game. Next up is the liquor. The liquor in this game gets on my fucking nerves. I'm not a big fan of the liquor. First, let's talk about the introduction of the liquor in the original RE2. I'm going to show you. right here. It's a lot more cinematic than the introduction of liquor in RE2's remake. Now, you might say it looks more cinematic in the remake because of the ridiculously good graphics of the RE engine. But if we're being fair, graphics do not make a game. Plus, the liquors are also bullet sponges in this game. Look how many shots it takes here to kill a liquor in the original. With a pistol, by the way. Now, the liquors in the original were not boss enemies. They were just very intimidating enemies that could attack from anywhere. They were basically the manic zombie I was talking about. And there are substantially more liquors in the early part of this game. Plus, they eliminated the super liquor altogether, which was in the original. They completely cut that enemy from the game. They actually cut tons of enemies from the game. I'm going to show you guys some clips here of all the enemies they cut from the game. And then there's the big fucking elephant in the middle of the room rubbing one out. And that is the tyrant, the titular Mr. X, the absolute worst part of RE2's remake. Now, originally in RE2, the second game with Claire did feature the tyrant. But the first game with Leon, you didn't see the tyrant until you were almost done, and there was no way to play Claire's game first. So as a player, the very first time you would actually see the tyrant would be much, much later in the game. About halfway through is the first time you'd actually see the tyrant. I get that the idea of the stalker enemy was supposed to create this kind of like fear factor of a persistent threat. He could always come from anywhere. He opens the door, he steps in, and oh my god, he's there. But the problem is, without being able to down him, and he moves so goddamn slowly, I actually didn't find him all that intimidating. Instead, when he showed up, I felt like we were playing a really boring game of tag. It's like somebody took the controller away from me for 5 to 10 seconds, all as much as a minute, and I just had to stand there and wait. You're in the middle of doing a fucking puzzle, and this big douchebag shows up, so you have to go run around the mansion for 25 minutes until he leaves you the fuck alone. In the original game, in Claire's game, and then you could also play the second scenario with Leon, you could actually down the tyrant, and he'd be gone for a while. And this game, all you can do is cause emotional damage! I mean, you can't kill this big fucker. You just shoot him and he doesn't goddamn die. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's just a waste of ammo to even shoot him in the first place. It's a good thing he's fucking stupid, otherwise the game would be unplayable. And if that wasn't enough, I don't really find him intimidating at all. Honestly, I just thought he was boring. I felt like I was playing Ring Around a Fucking Rosie or Duck Duck Go Fuck Yourself every time the sumbitch showed up. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? Tell the tyrant to go fuck himself. Next up is the tremendous mountain of cut content. Now, this hasn't been mentioned much, and it's not nearly as much as the RE3 remake, which is just objectively bad. But there actually is a fair amount of cut content in Resident Evil 2's remake. Now, we already covered the cut enemies. I showed you guys some clips of the cut enemies, but there's also entire cut sections, cut puzzles, changed locations and encounters, and then you got stuff like the shopkeeper. Originally, the shopkeeper, I'll see if I can find a clip to show you guys here. Originally, the shopkeeper Leon met at the beginning of the game. It was one of my favorite scenes in the game because it kind of added to the feeling that the zombies were everywhere. Leon, you basically start the game by running from the zombies, and then you get into the shop and you feel like you might be safe, only for them to break in and kill the shopkeeper. The increased role the shopkeeper played was clearly done to sell you DLC and a remake that already sold for $60. Now, don't get me wrong, the Resident Evil 2 remake, in spite of my bitching, is probably worth the $60. It's a fair asking price, but why is there new goddamn DLC or a multiplayer added to Resident Evil 3? Capcom needs to quit fucking themselves and actually realize what we want. There's also a bunch of DLCs in this game that were never there. You know, while they're making these DLCs, they're cutting content. Like with RE3, they cut a lot of the game out in order to add a crap multiplayer so Capcom could try to make money off of crap multiplayer. Stop it. Just make the game we played 10 years ago. Or 20 years ago, or 30 years ago. Don't fucking ruin Halo, don't ruin Resident Evil, fuck off, and be loyal to the goddamn fans. But I don't just want to bitch about it, there are some decent things about the Resident Evil 2 remake. One of the most being is its graphics, they're incredible. Great job visually. And I do like the over-the-shoulder camera style, and I find the aiming to be tight. Although to be fair, as I mentioned earlier, I don't think it really should be. You're a rookie cop and you're an amateur. To add in a few opinions that are not objective. Now, the original Resident Evil 2, you played as either Claire or Leon. Leon was a rookie cop within his first day on the job, and Claire was a girl looking for her brother. Neither were experienced soldiers. Neither were skilled fighters. Neither were even partially prepared for what they were walking into. It was pure shock for both characters when they arrived. This wasn't RE1, where you were a highly trained special forces style SWAT team sent in to neutralize a threat. These were two people who found themselves in over their head immediately. And I don't think Resident Evil 2 Remake really does a good job of capturing that. Just look at this one scene. I think this one scene shows off entirely what my point is. You see, here you got Claire and Leon talking to each other, with zombies coming up behind Claire and a helicopter crashing. Why are they so calm? These are regular people. Would you really be this calm if you had just had to shoot 10 people in the fucking head, were surrounded by zombies, and a helicopter crashed? No, you wouldn't be. These feel more like trained and experienced soldiers, which decreases the fear factor, because all of a sudden you're a trained and experienced soldier. I'd argue Dead Space has more fear factor, and Dead Space, you have a lot more freedom of weapons and gear. But I felt like Isaac Clarke was in over his head. In Resident Evil 2, I don't feel like Claire and Leon are over their head. I feel like these are the kind of people you want in this situation. They're like 25-year vets of being Navy SEALs, they're so calm. These people are like super experienced soldiers. And this kind of destroys the feeling. And this is something I was mentioning with the Resident Evil 4 remake. You have to be careful when you remake something and then change its tone. Because when you change its tone, you could lose what originally made it special. Well, guys, that's just my thoughts on it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like, share, subscribe. You guys already know I'm going to keep putting up more videos. There's a bunch on the channel now. I understand as a small channel, a lot of you probably don't want to give videos much of a time of day, because if I see a video with 6 views, I'm going to be like, that video probably sucks. I don't know. I think my videos are alright. I'd love some feedback from you guys. Let me know what you think. I appreciate you guys watching this video. And like always, this is the Damn Nerd, signing off.